everyone, my name is Leeya Chaudhuri, and today I'm going to be talking about how my neighborhood magazine encapsulates my inspiration. I want to start out by asking you a question. Have you ever been so inspired that a single vision has caused you to achieve something really massive? Have you ever been so inspired that a single vision has caused you to achieve an entire project? During the pandemic, I, like many, was looking for different ways to keep busy, with school consisting of mostly scattered homework assignments and office hours where no one showed up, with restaurants and movies and arcades being shut down, and with only FaceTime and text to communicate with my friends and family. I was spending a lot of time at home and a lot of time with my family. I found comfort in cooking as a way to keep busy. But of course, there's only so much cooking you can do until you become sick of all the cleaning that comes along with it and desperately crave takeout. I knew that I needed more hobbies. Now at this time, TikTok was at its peak. One TikTok video I saw was about letters and how they can bring people joy during these isolated times. I loved this idea and began to mail some letters to my friends and family. But I knew I needed to mail a letter to my close friend and neighbor, Adalia. But since she lived a couple of blocks away, I figured why mail it to her when I could just deliver it to her. But then I thought, what's the fun of a letter if it's not actually mailed to you? I should do something bigger, like a box of activities. And thus, board boxes began. Board boxes were COVID kits to cure the COVID boredom, filled with things such as books and art and movie recommendations and scavenger hunts. They were all tied together with a theme, like gold, or North Carolina, or Amazon. Each week, me and Adalia would take turns delivering these boxes to each other. And even though they were just little boxes, they became a ritual, a path of knowing when the world was falling apart. Now, in addition, fast forward to June or July of 2020, when my mom and I were taking a walk. On this walk, we saw my neighbor who was walking her dog. We made small talk, but she looked isolated and lonely. On the way back home, my mom told me that while my friend and I's board boxes were great, the joy was only spread to us. There were so many more in the neighborhood who needed that joy too. I knew my mom was right, so the next day I called Adalia over for a meeting in the backyard. We thought, why don't we make some more of these activities for people in our neighborhood? We could fill it with crosswords and snacks and coloring pages. But we quickly realized this would not be feasible to make in mass quantity. But then, Adalia realized one of the board boxes she made. Except it wasn't really a box, it was more of a magazine/book type. And that is when we had the sudden inspiration. We could create a neighborhood magazine. We would call it A&O Magazine, named after Adalia, A, and me, L. All we needed was that base idea, because from there the inspiration took hold. We would create this magazine, and we are still doing it, in fact. We have over 15 editions, and we've covered topics as different as equity, to the history of our neighborhood, to owning a restaurant. We've interviewed over 40 individuals as different as doctors, lawyers, chefs, legislators, and teachers. We have a website, a YouTube channel, and over 50 readers. The magazine has been going for over a year now. How does my story connect to one of our parts of this theme for this year, which is inspiration? Well, to do this, I have to explain to you what my understanding of the word inspiration is. And to do this, I must pick apart the definition. Now, when you Google the word inspiration, you get two definitions. A, the process of being mentally stimulated to do or feel something, especially to do something creative. And B, a sudden brilliant, creative, or timely idea. Now, when I look at this definition and I think of inspiration, it's encapsulated to me in 6 parts. First is mentally stimulated. Now, when you think of mentally stimulated, just think of enhancing your mind. An analogy that I like to think of is a plant that has just been watered. Your brain, which is the plant, is being watered by all that inspiration and by all those emotions. Second, when I look at the definition, I think of creative. I had trouble thinking of a definition to harness creativity because it is, well, creative. But essentially, the idea you have should be so mentally stimulating that it evokes that emotion in you, and it gives you that rush of creativity that makes you feel motivated to do something. Third, think of process. Process is essentially just those steps leading up to your inspiration. It includes the best and the worst parts, the highs and the lows, from the brainstorming in the beginning all the way to the little details and grunt work at the end. Fourth is sudden. When you think of sudden, just think of that light bulb moment. Fifth is brilliant. Now, my cousin, who is a journalist, once told me that if your idea feels brilliant to you, then you can make anyone, including the audience, feel that. And lastly is timely. When you're on a time limit, it gives you all the more reason to actually complete your inspiration because you are, well, on a time limit. Now, back to my original question. How does my story connect to our theme for this year, inspiration? Well, in a lot of ways, my neighborhood magazine is my inspiration because when I look at these keywords, my magazine fits these. For example, process. When we're writing the magazine, we always have to go through a process. We have to brainstorm in the beginning when deciding what to write about, but we also have to do that editing, those little details in the end. Another example is timely, because a lot of our magazine editions are in fact timely, like our edition on Black History Month or Asian American Month. And lastly, and most importantly, it's mentally stimulated. Now remember, mentally stimulated is enhancing your mind. It is that vision or that specific goal that you have going into the project, the one that you visualize in your head where all your hard work pays off. And for me, my specific vision was seeing that very same isolated neighbor that I saw with my mom on that one day, receiving our magazine and sitting down at her kitchen table to do one of our crossword puzzles or coloring pages, or just reading the magazine, seeing her smiling, happy, and occupied. And throughout it all, I go back to that in remembering why I did the magazine in the first place. But I definitely could not do this magazine without my best friend and neighbor, Adalia, who's actually here in the audience today. So I just want to say, Adalia, thank you for all that you do, because you are an amazing friend, and I absolutely could not do this magazine without you. Now, everyone's inspirations are different, so I want to talk about how you can actually apply these definitions into your own life. That is why I've created my checklist to see if you have found your perfect inspiration. Just answer the following 6 questions. Now, before I talk about the questions, just keep in mind that if your inspiration doesn't fit all of these, that's okay, because scenarios do vary, but try to answer as many of these as possible. First, think about, is your idea mentally stimulating? Does it evoke emotion in you? Does it give you that rush of creativity? Second, think about, do you have a process in your mind somewhat planned out for how you're going to achieve your inspiration? Third, think about, was your idea sudden? Did you have that light bulb moment? Fourth, think about, does your idea feel brilliant to you? Going back to my cousin's advice, if your idea feels brilliant to you, then you can make anyone feel that. Fifth, think about, is your idea timely? Does it need to be completed? Because if you're on a time limit, you'll be more motivated to complete it. And lastly, and in my opinion, most importantly, do you have a vision or a specific goal in your mind where all that hard work pays off? Because I promise you, this is what is going to drive you. I just want to conclude tonight by saying that in life, if you have an inspiration and you have the goals and you have the tools to achieve it, then you can, will, and absolutely should complete your goals in life. Thank you.